There are no one size fits all defenses for a DUI case. Just want to put that out there initially, that you really have to look through the facts of each case and figure out what defenses may apply. Sometimes there are things that fall outside this kind of general defenses that I'm going to lay out. So one of the first general defenses, it's pretty common sense that happens in DUI cases, is that they can't prove someone was actually driving, because a DUI requires driving. And so sometimes that happens where they encounter somebody who's already stopped, or there's a discrepancy about who was driving, where there are multiple people that were involved and which person was actually driving. So a no drive defense can be really effective, because even if someone was under the influence, but they weren't driving, then they can't be convicted of a DUI. Next category of things essentially would be that defense can be that something was done incorrectly. Sometimes this means that the stop or the investigation that the police officer did was incorrect. Other times it can be that the testing or obtaining the chemical test sample, whether it's blood or breath from somebody, whether that was done incorrectly. So being able to challenge whether or not the evidence that they're basing the case on is accurate. Did the police actually do an accurate investigation, or did the crime lab actually do an accurate chemical test? Next category would be kind of a general term for this would be scientific. And so really what this looks at is, can we prove that either somebody isn't impaired by the substances that may be showing up on a breath or blood test, or that the number reflected on a breath or blood test wouldn't have been accurate at the time someone was driving. And so generally for those types of defenses, we consult with experts, and the experts will take a look and see whether or not we could prove perhaps that if somebody did a chemical test that was at a 0.08, but that test was done after they were driving, we could go back in time to see, well, was that person actually a 0.08 at the time they were driving 45 minutes before? And we can use science to go back in time and see what would your blood alcohol level have been at an earlier time. And that can be an effective way to show that someone was not at a 0.08 at the time that they were driving. So those would be some of the more broad general defenses that we see come up pretty frequently.